Hello, welcome to another episode of A Most Horrible Library. I'm Shawn.
And I'm Chris.
And we're here to talk about many, many fantastic horror-themed or related graphic novels, comic books, novels, crossword puzzles. No, not crossword puzzles. Sudoku. Yeah. Well, I will tell you, if you've ever been on like a 5-hour plane ride with nothing but Sudoku, that is the closest approximation I have in my head of what it's like to play with the Hellraiser Lament configuration. Because, dude, I don't know. I've never been good with numbers anyway, but that shit is just, it's creepy. I don't know. So how you doing, man?
Yeah, not too bad. Surviving, hanging in there. Been reading a fair amount of books.
So I saw that you, first of all, there's two things I want to comment on that you sent me pictures of. One, the volumes of Lucifer, excuse me, Mike Carey's Lucifer. Mm-hmm, you picked up the omnibuses, right? I think is there 2 or 3?
There's 2 of them, and those tackle the original 3-issue miniseries and span all the way up to, I think, issue 75, which is the last
I think it ended
issue
with 75, yeah.
Of that, technically second volume, I guess, because they consider the miniseries to be the first volume.
I forgot about the miniseries, honestly. I'm trying to remember now. I mean, I love the regular series. I mean, I think it's one of the best things I've ever read. Just conceptually, it's amazing. But I can't remember if I've read the miniseries, so I have to go back and look.
Yeah, it was just the original 3-issue Sandman Presents Lucifer.
Because they did that with like Death. They did it with the Corinthian. I think his was like Death in Venice or something like that. There might have been 2 for him. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, I know Death, she got 2 miniseries. And
High Cost of Living and I forget what
Time of Your Life.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, and there's also the little one-shot of Death. Death Talks About Life.
I'm pretty sure I have that, but man,
which that one was more like a PSA kind of thing.
Oh, is that the one?
She's talking about like safe sex and AIDS and all that.
Yes. Yeah. Does she not put a condom on a banana?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I think at the time that was a free issue as well.
Yeah, I think it was too.
Well, I mean, because I think it's only like 6 pages. It's very small.
I have that somewhere. Or oh man, wow. I haven't thought of that in a long time. Oh my God, wow.
But yeah, I nabbed that second omnibus of Lucifer as well as the first of Books of Magic.
See, now that's a series. I was so hot on those original Vertigo books. Mm-hmm. And I never read that one. And I not by any, I just didn't. I guess it was, it's weird. I would say it was already underway. So that like made me feel like I didn't know how to jump on. But that seems like bullshit because I picked up Sandman in the Kindly ones or the Kindly ones, however you say it, which is like the second to last story arc. And then I went back and got, and that was before they had collected anything other than the first 3 storylines into trades. So then I went back, got the first 3 trades, and there weren't more.
Yeah.
But yeah, Books of Magic. Tim Hunter, right? That's the character.
Yeah, Tim Hunter, boy wizard. A lot of parallels to Harry Potter
definitely
about I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years before Harry Potter.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, visually they're identical. I know at some point somebody asked Neil Gaiman, don't you care? And he's like, no.
Oh yeah,
so I thought it was super cool. He's like, no, it's cool. So
he says, we all borrow from everybody else. And in all honesty, he's 100% sure that, that J.K. Rowling, that, she has no idea who he was or about the books at the time that she wrote that, because they all take a little bit of, from everything else.
Definitely. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So
the other thing I wanted to comment on that you showed me. So you got the hardcovers for all of the original, I think it's 5 Hill House books, correct?
Yes. All, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, even though there was the secret 6th Hill House book. That
was the Plunge? The one that was like the...
No, that was so there were 5, technically 6. There was the one that started the whole thing, which was a Basket Full of Heads.
Yes.
It was written by Joe Hill. There's the Plunge, also written by Joe Hill. There's Daphne Byrne, written by Laura Marks. The Lolo Woods, written by Carmen Mikado. And Dollhouse Family, written by Mike Carey.
Who wrote Lucifer.
But then when you're buying the singular issues of those, the last page or two is Salty Dogs. Yeah. Oh, and I'm sorry. I'm just going to correct myself real fast. It's Sea Dogs.
Sea Dogs. Salty Dogs is a snack. It's a chocolate-covered pretzel shaped like a German Shepherd. They're delicious.
Yeah. So you put those all together, but spanning between the, oh God, what would that be? 26 issues, I think, is between all of those. And you have, a full story in there. So, but I've been checking because I've been hoping that they would put that out as a, as its own. Yeah, exactly. And maybe at some point they will, because it is not included in these hardcovers.
Now, did you read them all monthly, like single issues?
Yes, okay. I did. And the hard part for me is that, like, I would read a lot of these, not necessarily in order as they came out, because for these books, knowing that there were only going to be anywhere from 6 issues in length, that I wanted to be able to read them, just read the whole thing at once.
Right.
So for some of these, I collected them all up until the run was done, and then went back and just read the whole thing.
Okay.
But because of that, I would just sit down and read all of Daphne Byrne, in the back I would see, part 8, part 12, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to bounce back and forth between each one just to read that little bit. So even though I could, it just feels like a pain in the ass.
Well, it seems like the kind of thing, if you're saving them up like that, if you're saving the monthlies up, I could see how you wouldn't do it then. It seems like the kind of thing, if they don't collect it, to me, what that would be is a Saturday night where maybe I got some time by myself, and I'm just like, you know what, I'm going to pull them all out of their bag and board. And which, by the way, just for the listeners, like, we're both collectors and we've been doing this our whole life, but I bag and board them for I don't want them to be damaged, but I'm not one of these meticulous. It's just easier to store them, in my opinion, in bags and board. So I pull them out of the bags and board and just lay them out, and then go, rearrange the issues so that they're in order, and then read it, split 1, 2, 3. But it is a little bit of a process if that's the way you're reading them, and that's exactly what you just described. Like, so I tried to read a couple of these series monthly, but I didn't put them on a pull list because, long story short, like, for the listeners, a friend of ours started his own shop, and so I have 2 shops, and I was going to allocate the issues to him, but because he's like a startup, there were some distribution problems, and then COVID happened, and comics got canceled and yada yada. So at any rate, I ended up with issues 1, 2, and 5 of Lolo Woods, and I could not. I mean, these fuckers had low print runs, and they sold out fucking quick. So, but yeah. So okay, so let's let's talk about these because I mean, I feel like definitely now they have not been collected in anything other than hardcover at this point, correct?
Yes. Yeah, I think it's just the single issues or the hardcovers.
So I feel like there are probably quite a few people out there that want to read these, but have not, based on the fact that they were low print runs that sold out quickly. They're not collected digitally because I know, like our friend Bickness, he has complained to me in text several times, like, I keep looking for this shit on Kindle and I can't. It's not been released yet, so I'm holding out. He won't read them until it is. And you know, with DC and Marvel, they do it the same way, where it's like they'll usually put the collection out in hardcover first, and then later on they'll do the trade. So it's, you know, I mean, hardcovers are cost prohibitive for a lot of people and space prohibitive. So there's probably a lot of people who haven't read them. So let's go through them. I mean, I can speak to Daphne Byrne, but other than that, I'm just going to let you talk, and I'm going to ask you questions.
Sure. Now, also, too, I do want to chime in on that. You can find them digitally, at least in my quick 10-second search right now on Comixology.
But it's single issue, right?
No. They do.
Oh, really?
They do have the whole collection on there. Oh. But in all honesty, like I'm looking at it right now, you can get Basket Full of Heads for $16.50 for the whole thing digitally, but at the same time you can go on Amazon and buy the hardcover for like a few dollars more.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, I think it's like about $20 for the hardcover on Amazon. So, you know, so whatever you decide to do, you can get it either way, it looks.
So it's probably come out since the last time Bickness complained to me in a text that he couldn't find it. So I'll have to check with him again and see if he's read them yet, or if he even knows that they're there, because he was waiting. So let's talk about Daphne Byrne. Let's start there.
Yeah. So Daphne Byrne, let me see, which was, I think, the third or fourth maybe to come out from the Hill House Comics line, which for those of you who don't know is an imprint of DC Comics.
Which is like so cool that they gave him his own imprint. I thought that was just very, very cool.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know what? And actually, it looks like Daphne Byrne, I believe, was the last one to come out.
Oh really? Okay, I didn't know that. I think, are there new ones that came out later that are like going monthly now, or no? It was just these.
It was just these 5 to start.
Okay, I thought there was something else that started after.
I know that I will definitely not hear back because the man is extremely busy and has no time for the peasants like myself. But I did reach out to Joe Hill to ask him, hey man, loved all the books that came out. Are there any plans for any more in the same imprint? But I'm not going to hear back on that.
Hey, you never know.
You never
Probably
know.
not, but you never know.
So if you're listening, Joe, dude, get back to me, man.
Nice. Now, you know what's interesting? I'm looking at the hardcover, and for Daphne Byrne, I didn't realize this. So it is Hill House, but it's also Black Label, which is kind of
they
replaced.
All
are. Okay, I didn't know that. So it's an imprint within Black Label. So I feel like this is the equivalent of like the sub genres in music.
Oh yeah.
But either way, whatever. I mean, Black Label has kind of replaced Vertigo. I think to Midland results. I mean, I've not seen very much that I think is very cool. But I mean, they're trying, but I don't know. I think they're a little bit misguided at DC. However, these are fantastic. And so the thing about Daphne Byrne, the reason why this one is the first one I bought the hardcover for, Kelly Jones, I love his art. He was, let's see. I know him best from, he did a book in the late 90s, early 2000s called The Hammer that I talked about on, I think I know Drinking with Comics and probably on the Horror Vision, our sister podcast. And his art is very Bernie Wrightson-esque, but also like, oh man, I don't know. It's just so creepy and textured and horrific. So this was definitely the one that was the most on my radar, even though it wasn't one that Joe Hill himself actually wrote. It was this Laura Marks, and it's fantastic. It's a Victorian England era tale. Young girl having her mother is going to a medium because like to talk to her dead father, and
no, her dead husband.
I'm sorry, I meant Daphne Byrne's dead father.
Yes,
but yeah, the mother's dead husband, and they're probably not being honest with her. You get that sense right away, but you're not sure to what extent. And meanwhile, Daphne she's mocked at school constantly, but she sees things, terrible, terrible things. And so both of these things kind of coalesce in the end. Oh man. So what's your take on Daphne Byrne?
Well, first I want to just read the little plot summary for the listeners.
Yeah.
So it is the voice from beyond the veil. In the gaslit splendor of the late 19th century New York, rage builds inside 14-year-old Daphne. With the sudden death of her father, has left her alone with her grief-stricken mother. Emotionally adrift and living outside her means, the widow becomes easy prey for a group of occultists promising to contact her dead husband. While fighting to disentangle her mother from these characters, Daphne experiences a genuine supernatural encounter, a strange, insidious presence in her own body. Brother, a charming entity with unspeakable appetites, visits her in her dreams and whispers in her ear. Soon Daphne is sharing his terrifying power. A demon? A ghost? Her own hallucination? Daphne can't be sure of what Brother is or what he wants. And even if she knew, could she stop him? Would she want to? So that's kind of the back of the book description there. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this one. You know, it kind of hit all the marks for me, you know, in terms of the setting. You know, I'm a sucker for, you know, for period pieces.
Yeah.
You know, both in film and in print. You know, so seeing that kind of Victorian era, you know, New York and just their sensibilities, you know, discussing how, you know, this is improper, you know, that is, you know, mind your manners. You know, it would be indecent for a young lady to be seen walking with a man after dark, and just all that kind of stuff. You know, just the etiquette, you know, in everything.
And I love, you know, it's interesting. This really kind of dovetailed. So you gave me copies of Mark Frost, who, like, most famously, I mean, he's done so many things for TV and print, but most famously, he's David Lynch's co-creator on Twin Peaks, and he wrote some books in the early 90s that featured Sir Arthur Conan Doyle as the protagonist. And you gifted me both the List of Seven.
List of Seven, yeah.
And Six Messiahs, which is the sequel. So List of Seven I read. I haven't read Six Messiahs yet. The List of Seven is very similar to this in that it starts out with Arthur Conan Doyle going to, well, basically being summoned by a woman to go to this mediums because she thinks that they're, you know, pulling the wool over her eyes, and then all this bad stuff happens, and it runs this line between supernatural and not supernatural. But it was just an interesting thing to be reading this and that almost concurrently. What you said about like the etiquette and whatnot of the Victorian era is really interesting because also it's such a violent and filthy era. And so I always loved the juxtaposition of that, where it's like indoors, everything is prim and proper. And then you walk out into the street and there might be, you know, somebody in, you know, a whore fornicating in the alley, and there's, you know, piss and blood in the gutter, and just, you know, violent. I don't know. It's just, it's such an interesting setting.
It's a really really great, and it makes for a great visual setting too. We
Yes.
have that is kind of the whole era of the just the industrial age.
Yes. Soot and everything's dirty because of it. The smokestacks belching smoke and whatever into the sky, and then the rain bringing it. It's just really, and Kelly Jones fucking shines, like, not only with, just shit like, inside, like the drapery and the furniture and stuff like that, but also like the dresses and the clothes. Like, it's so well recreated, and it just fits his style so perfectly that I'm looking at like the heaving bosoms and like, oh my God, it's
yeah, you are.
it's so, dude, it's so good. He has a knack for drawing like the meat of human bodies, where like apparitions will almost look more skinless. If you kind of picture what Brother Frank looks like in the first Hellraiser as he's kind of being recreated, it's something like that, but done with his particular style, and it's just gorgeous. Oh man, in a macabre way.
Now, it's really funny to me that you had compared Kelly earlier to Bernie Wrightson, because Kelly was also he was handpicked by Bernie to take over and finish Frankenstein Alive that Bernie and Steve Niles were working on, due to the fact that Bernie was dying.
Yeah, and he did a remarkable job. And also,
definitely.
It's one of those things where I don't know if it was because he was handpicked, but I remember thinking in 20, when did that come out? 2019, I think. 2018, 2019.
Oh,
I think it's 2019 it finished. But I remember thinking in 2019, this is the kind of thing where the comic book like community is so, elements of it are so just mean and like venomous, where I just pictured he was going to get all this hate. And I don't know if it's just because people that are Bernie Wrightson fans are better people. Maybe, I don't know, when it comes to reading comics, but I feel like everything about it went perfect for him. It was celebrated, and what are you going to do? Bernie Wrightson's dying. Like, if you want an end to the book, it's something's got to give, and he's just the perfect person. It's beautiful.
It looks like, Frankenstein Alive started getting published in 2012.
But I think it took
a while to get all wrapped up.
Yeah, it's exquisite. That's something we should, on a future episode, we should do a deep dive into, for sure.
Into the life and times of Bernie.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you know what? And I happen to know one enthusiastic Viking Chicagoan.
Yes, I was just thinking the same thing.
In sitting down with us.
He knows so much John knows so much about his technique. So John Bickness, for the listeners, he was on an episode of the Horror Vision, I don't know, a year and a half ago or something like that. We did Headhunter as the main movie, but he told me Wrightson would ink with like a raven's quill or something like that, the feathers, to get like certain effects, and I just blew my mind. I was like, what? Like, whoa!
Wow, I did not know that.
It might not have been I'm pretty sure it was, but I might be misremembering that somewhat. But this is the thing: we have John on, and he could talk about it. So there you go.
Yeah, well, good. So if you're listening, John, we're gonna get you in here soon.
Definitely. So what about the other Hill House books? Give me what was your favorite one, if you had one?
My favorite one, other than Daphne Byrne, would be The Plunge.
Okay.
So this one was written by Joe Hill with art by Stuart Immonen. Hope I'm saying that right. And this one here, it felt to me like a love letter to the 80s style. It felt very in the same vein as like The Thing.
Oh, wow. Okay. It's aquatic horror, right? If I'm not mistaken, it's like an oil rig or something like that.
Well, not quite. So I'll give you the again the little rundown on the back here. It was plunge. See what they did there? Plunge into terror. In 1983, a state-of-the-art drilling ship, the Derelith, vanished near the Arctic Circle. Decades later, it has begun sending a distress call. Tracing the signal to a remote atoll in the Bering Strait, the Rococo Oil Company hires the Carpenter brothers.
Nice.
Yeah,
see what they did there? Yeah.
And their salvage crew to investigate the ghost ship. Joined by a marine biologist and an oil executive, the brothers set out on a grim mission to learn what caused the disappearance and recovery of the bodies of the crew, only to find that the Derelith's men aren't dead, even if they aren't also not quite alive anymore.
Ooh.
Yes, this one was a lot of fun. It hit all of those 80s character tropes for me, from the gruff captain of the ship, to the jokey kind of, sarcastic crew, to the sleazy oil executive, which I'm like, okay, this is basically, Paul Reiser from Aliens.
Yep, Burke.
being the company man. But there's so many little things in here. You got a character named McCready.
Nice.
And it turns into this whole thing with involving I don't know how much I really want to spoil.
No, don't say anything else. I'm already sold, and I would imagine a lot of it. I feel like that just the comparison to Carpenter's The Thing, and then just I don't know. The synopsis from the back. I already wanted to read it, but now even more so.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, this is it is the best movie that John Carpenter hasn't made yet.
Right. Nice. What about the others?
Okay, so following up, I'll go with the Lola Woods. So this one is by. I'm trying to.
Here, go ahead. Just turn the pages. Turn the pages a couple times. It's coming through the mic, and I just love the sound.
Is that coming through?
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, there we go. So it is written by Carmen Maria Machado, featuring artwork by Danny. That's all it says. It just says Danny, D-A-N-I.
Huh.
Yeah. Okay, so the premise on this one is there's something in the woods. Shudder to Think, Pennsylvania. That's the name of the town, Shudder to Think.
Oh, nice.
So Shudder to Think, Pennsylvania has been on fire for years. The woods are full of rabbits with human eyes, a deer woman who stalks hungry girls, and swaths of skinless men. And the people of Shudder to Think, well, they're not doing so well either. When Elle and Octavia wake up in a movie theater with no memory of the last few hours of their lives, the two teenage dirtbags embark on a horrifying... The two teenage dirtbags.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
They embark on a horrifying journey to uncover the truth about the strange town that they call home.
So this one I read, this was one I think I had 1, 2, and 5 based on the way that the poll went or whatever. So and it's been since April or May or something since I read anything. But there was a definite ominous tone that I enjoyed, and I need to get this hardcover and finish this because what you just the dirtbags.
The dirtbags. Yeah, and that's kind of what they are. This pair of girls. They are very much the kind of social outcasts. But it is pretty interesting. This town that they're in. it is a former big booming coal town.
Yeah, and now it's not.
And now, it has it's on fire underground for the past 5 years.
Yeah.
Which that is based on true stories, because I forget the name of the town. And I think they even kind of modeled that after, or they modeled the kind of Silent Hill mythos around that same kind of thing. About one of these coal towns where it did catch on fire, and the whole town now is a ghost town. Because it's not safe to live there anymore. But there is still fire burning underground in, I can't remember what the name of the real life town is, but so it is set in a town very similar to that.
It definitely had. See, I don't remember I'm laughing about the dirtbags thing because I don't remember them being dirtbags. I remember them being kind of like, I guess, I don't know, kind of more like stoners, or I just remember there was a definite sense of like frustration and claustrophobia in this town. Like a lot of characters in these it's also making me think of like Nebraska a little bit. It has not quite the same, but there's a similar thing where it's a small town and there was a boom, the boom's gone. So I don't know. But
yeah, there is that feeling of being trapped in the town, not necessarily physically trapped, but more financially and economically trapped.
Yeah.
That there are lots of
people. Especially as a teenager.
Yeah, exactly. Like your family, they just don't make enough money to move. So they're just kind of stuck in this, destitute, kind of dilapidating town.
Yeah.
So again, that one is a very good read. I did enjoy that one.
So that leaves what? Basket Full of Heads and Dollhouse, right?
And Dollhouse. So so I was going to get into Dollhouse Family next. So that is written by Mike Carey, who actually did use his novel pen name.
M.R. Carey, right?
Of M.R. Carey.
I was going to bring that up, who listeners may not know this, but he also wrote The Girl with All the Gifts.
He wrote The Girl with All the Gifts, which the novel, which got turned into a film that he also wrote the screenplay for.
Yeah.
He wrote the sequel novel, or prequel novel, I should say, The Boy on the Bridge.
Okay.
And he has a slew of other novels too.
Yeah,
he does have another a series that is a very John Constantine type Exorcist for hire kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And so when he publishes, in the novel form, he does do it all as M.R. Carey, but we know him as Mike from Lucifer.
Yes.
And a number of other things. Yeah, so this one, I really did enjoy this one. So again, from the back of the book, what secrets does the dollhouse hold? On Alice's 6th birthday, she got the gift she didn't know she always wanted. A big, beautiful 19th century dollhouse, complete with a family of antique dolls. In no time at all, the dollhouse isn't just Alice's favorite toy, it's her whole world. And soon young Alice learns that she can magically enter the house to visit a new group of friends straight out of a heartwarming children's novel, The Dollhouse Family. But in the real world, her family's life is much darker, and deep within the dollhouse's twisting halls, the Black Room awaits. With an offer to Alice, the house can fix all of this, the room says. All she has to do is say the words. And so, I mean, for me, when it comes to horror, I do like these type of stories that kind of center around children.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is just that like kind of innocence and
naivete.
Yeah. That children have, and it makes them such easy targets for the supernatural.
Yeah, definitely.
They tend to lack that kind of common sense, And due to that, it helps to open and have these kind of stories that normally you wouldn't be able to have with an adult.
Right.
But yeah, this one is I really enjoyed. Had a beautiful artwork from Peter Gross.
Oh, so he did Lucifer with Mike here, and Unwritten, I believe, as well. But yeah, he was the main artist on Lucifer.
Mm-hmm. Books of Magic as well. Mm-hmm. And this one too, I mean, Shawn, especially for liking Daphne Byrne, I think that of all of the other Hill House books, this would be the one that you would gravitate to more, both in terms of the artwork, the story itself, but also too because it does also dive into that kind of 19th century kind of vibe to it as well. Of that Victorian, because that's, it's a large like Victorian house with these Victorian era dolls, and you kind of get a lot of stories in there as well. And for me too, just Mike Carey, we've gushed enough about Lucifer in this episode to know that, we are fans.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I think that's the one I'm gonna get next, definitely. And I forgot that it was Carrie and Peter Gross, so that right away, just immediately, I'm like, I have to read that.
Mm-hmm. So finally, I'm going to end the dive here of the Hill House comics with the book that launched the imprint, which was Basket Full of Heads from Joe Hill. And this one, too, I mean, you want to talk about an 80s feeling story, it's going to be this one. The whole book takes place in 1983 up in Maine, in a town called Brody Island, Maine.
I didn't realize any of the, I didn't really know what this one was about at all.
Well, this one here, I mean, I feel like this one definitely could have been a low budget direct to VHS tape that you would have seen, in the horror vision of a small independent, video store back in the 80s. So, okay, I'll give you the rundown on this one. So, heads will roll. June Branch is in trouble. She's trapped on Brody Island with nowhere to run. Her boyfriend Liam has been kidnapped. 4 bloodthirsty escaped convicts will stop at nothing to find her. All poor June has to defend herself is a strange Viking axe with the terrifying power to decapitate a person and leave the head still talking.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, my God.
If she's going to save Liam and herself, June will have to keep a cool head or even a basket full of them. Yeah, so that's kind of the premise to this is that, a big storm hits this small little island, washes the bridge out. Meanwhile, there are some escaped convicts, running around, orange jumpsuit, all that. They kind of take refuge in, not her father, her boyfriend's father. I haven't read this since it came out last year, but basically she takes refuge in, in this big giant mansion, and inside there is basically like the museum section of the mansion, where, there's lots of collections of particularly Viking things, a lot of it, and it's up there in Maine, which supposedly that's kind of the area where the Vikings had originally come over in the 11th century, way before Columbus and all that. And basically power kind of goes out, house gets besieged by these convicts. And she, looking around for a weapon to try to defend herself, she grabs this old Viking axe and discovers that, you cut somebody's head off, well, the head keeps on living.
That's fucking great. Wow.
Yeah, this one really is a fun book to read because it definitely kind of put me in that like 1980s
I could totally see that, just the conceptually
kind of vibe to it. Oh yeah, no, definitely. And yeah, it was, let me see, it was, I'm trying to see who the illustrator of this one was. Leo Max.
Okay. Unfamiliar, but I mean, I know the little bit that I saw it looked cool.
Yeah, it says he's also known for Lucifer as well too.
Okay.
Yeah, this was actually the biggest of the of all of the books, where each one was a 6-issue. This one during the middle of the run did get expanded into a 7th issue.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, so that one is going to be a bit bigger. I mean, all in all, I really enjoyed the everything that this imprint has put out. It has a strong diversity of horror styles, as well as just writing styles and themes. Pretty much like it's very all encompassing. With one exception, and hopefully it's something that I would like to see in their next run. I would like to see the Hill House Comics take of like cosmic horror.
Yes, definitely.
Some cosmic horror. Maybe a little bit more kind of body horror. But yeah, this was a great run. And I am really fingers crossed, hoping that they announce, soon that they are going to do another round of these. Yeah, because I really enjoyed them.
That would be fantastic. So while we have been talking, I was looking on eBay and Amazon. So I ended up ordering Dollhouse Family from Amazon. It's $20.99.
Oh,
so,
perfect.
Yeah. So I was about to go Lola Woods just because I had started. I mean, I'm going to get them all eventually, but yeah. So for people out there, it's easier to get. I feel like now the prices come down a little bit. It's a little bit easier to get now than it was a few weeks ago or months, which is cool. And hopefully there will be, like you said, more series, especially because if he's kind of curating others, other writers as well, other artists. It's not like it's all on him because, like you said, he's a busy man. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see what else that he does with DC.
Yeah, I mean, of the 5, well, I guess of the technically 6 stories that Hill House put out, he did 3 of them.
Yeah, right. And then
he did Basketful of Heads. He did Plunge, and he did Sea Dogs.
Yeah,
and then handpicked the rest.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah. So, what about you? What do you got? What do you?
So, I just wanted to talk briefly about a couple things that I'm reading right now. So, I got 3 books here. If you have listeners out there, if you have a comic shop, you can still find all of these from number 1. They're pretty much brand spanking new. First one is The Picture of Everything Else. And this is from Vault, who their Nightfall line, which also is responsible for The Plot, Black Stars Above, and Autumnal, all of which I love. And we'll talk about at some point. But this is Dan Waters. I don't know if it looks like Waters, but there's 2 T's. So I don't know if I'm needlessly mispronouncing it.
I'd say Waters.
Okay. And art and colors by Kishore Mohan. So this is a sequel to The Picture of Dorian Gray. Kind of. It's not like a hard sequel where it has anything to do with Dorian. And full disclosure, I've never read A Picture of Dorian Gray. And this just, makes me realize what a spectacular oversight that is. So I need to do that. But it's really cool. The art is almost at times looks like it's watercolored, And it starts with kind of, you're in the rich kind of upper crust of France at I believe the turn of the century and turn of the last century. And you've got a party where there's a wealthy madam and she has all these guests, and two of the guests are these guys that end up being kind of they're not exactly what they appear. They steal some stuff, they run out, but there's this whole discussion going on. This is when photographs are really picking up as a new thing. And so the discussion is this going to replace paintings? And so there's these two guys are talking about this artist, this painter, and it turns out it's the guy that painted the picture of Dorian Gray. Although I'm a little unsure how that is, because there seems to be he goes by a different name or something, but this is probably because I haven't read Dorian Gray that I'm not completely following this. But at any rate, there's one of them ends up becoming an understudy to him because they both have artistic designs. But there's the same with Dorian Gray. What I know about it, there's this, when that came out, it offended French society because of it was really into this hedonism, right? And so this plays with that thing with the hedonism. And what ends up happening is you see at some point that this guy he's doing paintings of other people. At some point he tears one up, and then you see the actual person who the painting was made of rip in half.
Oh shit.
And literally just blood everywhere, whatever. And so then the issue ends with this one of these two guys from the beginning becoming his understudy. So not a lot happens. It kind of sets up the premise, but I'm really looking forward to reading this. It's gorgeous to look at and just very intriguing. So there's that from Vault.
Now,
go ahead. No, go ahead. Sorry.
Now, is that going to be a mini series, or is it going to be it's an ongoing?
Without looking, I believe most of the stuff Vault is doing is they tend to be mini series.
Okay.
So I mean, I don't know. Let's see. I don't know if it's going to be 6 issues, 8 issues. There's probably somewhere online where I can find that out. I generally don't read too far into that because I like to not necessarily know when the last issue's coming. But yeah, I believe it'll be a mini series. It's good. I think you'd dig it.
Okay.
And again with the period piece especially.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So next, Aftershock Comics has this book Knock 'Em Dead by Elliot Rahal and Madia Monaco. This one's cool. So it's in Chicago. So I'm a Chicago, that's where I lived the first 30 years of my life. And it starts with somebody on the L. And it's just there's no dialogue, but it starts with, you're hearing the train, doors closing for Paulina. This is the Brown Line train going north. Next stop, Addison. So these are all things that I know very well. And it's about a young guy he wants to be a stand-up comedian. And he's going out, and his parents died recently. He lives with his older sister, and he's just going out night after night, anywhere he can to do stand-up, and he's bombing left and right, and it just doesn't faze him. And then he meets somebody that's kind of already into the local scene, but hasn't gotten bigger, and then something happens to them that is going to kick off this thing in the next issue, which apparently I mean, I don't really know how much I want to say, but it looks like what's going to end up happening is somebody in the book is going to die, but continue to function. So they'll be dead, but they'll still be walking around telling jokes, apparently.
Oh, nice.
But it was cool. It was an intriguing concept and, unlike anything I'd really seen before. So that was interesting. And then lastly, from IDW, and I think this is going to be 8 issues, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like I did read that somewhere. Sea of Sorrows, writer Rich Douek, artist, colorist Alex Cormack. Just aquatic horror, takes place on a boat they're I'm trying to think of what year this is. I don't remember. It's not present day for sure, but they're a bunch of people on this boat, and they have like a wealthy sponsor who's got them out there because 1926, the Flemish Cape, North Atlantic Ocean, 350 miles off of St. John's, Newfoundland. They're trying to go down and retrieve gold from a sunken ship, and so the art is fantastic. They really play with black, like when they're underwater, it's dark. It's super dark. It reminds me a lot of, I heard an interview with the writer of Underwater, Brian Duffield, and he was talking about how he was really inspired by a theater company. I forget the name of the theater company, but to play with darkness. And Underwater definitely does it as film, and I feel like this book does it as well. And it's cool because, underwater to me is fucking scary. I'm not talking about the movie. I'm talking about underwater. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just deep water in general.
It's, as far as I'm concerned, it's fucking outer space, but on Earth.
Oh, yeah.
Who knows what the fuck is down there? So they kind of play with that, and they do a really good job of, it's those, I forget what they're called, those old deep diving suits where it's all iron, very iconic looking and just creepy. There's a claustrophobia because of the darkness, and you feel the weight of the ocean kind of when these people are down there. And then there's, of course, similar to what you're talking about, the plunge, there's not the most altruistic reasons for people being involved in this. And, when people start dying, the bottom line is retrieving the gold. It's not taking care of the people on the ship.
Yeah.
So it'll be cool to see how it plays out.
Now, I might be completely wrong about this, but just in looking at some of the art in that, it looks to me, going back to what you're saying about, playing with the darkness, it looks like a lot of the artwork was done kind of, I don't want to say in reverse, I'm not an artist. I don't know there's technical terms for it, but it looks like there was, whites and colors that were actually drawn onto black.
That's probably exactly what gives it that. I would almost guarantee you're correct. Again, I also know nothing about art. But yeah, because it really, the darkness permeates the page at points. So that would make the most sense if they were working in reverse like that. That sounds correct.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of zooming in on some here, and I think that's that really does set the tone, just for going down into the black. Yeah. And just the way they light it in the darkness, it's just, I don't know, it's really cool. And like I said, I felt the weight of the water. Yes. That's a great way to describe that.
But it's a cool book, and I'm looking forward to the rest of it for sure. I almost didn't pick it up. I don't even know why. I remember I paused and didn't grab it, and then a friend of ours, Eric, who does Indie Comics Jones, he does these videos where he'll go through a book and talk about he'll recommend it or not recommend it, and then he'll kind of flip through the book, and just the little bit of the art I saw in his high recommendation, I was on it, definitely. So yeah, I'm glad that he posted that, because I would have kicked myself to miss this one.
Yeah, now see, this is one that I didn't hear anything about it. I just kind of stumbled upon it while I was browsing in my local comic book shop. And for me, it was the cover that really grabbed me. The cover of issue 1, basically shows, somebody in one of those old-timey kind of, diving apparatuses, towards the top of the page, looking like he's scrambling, trying to get upwards. Yeah. And it's virtually an entirely black cover, too.
It has what we were just talking about with the pages in the book. It has that feel.
And, and then you see all these kind of white bubbles around him, then all the way at the bottom of the page, looking up at him, kind of mouth agape, looks like the silhouette of what I would assume would be a a mermaid or some other kind of, humanoid bottom dweller.
Yeah,
in that sense.
It seems like in the second issue they kind of start to really introduce, I guess, what the monster is going to be, and I believe it is going to be a very monstrous take on mermaids, which I know, like, that's kind of mermaids are one of those things that where they are, where they went in popular culture over the last 20 years is very different from where they started. Because it's not Ariel and like, oh, we're gonna sing and dance and everything's cool. It's fucking horrific. I mean, the sirens, right? They would lure sailors out into the middle of nowhere, and then with their call, and then, oh my God, there's this beautiful naked woman, and then they fucking basically butcher them. So I feel like there's been a couple things that have played with that recently, and so I like that. I don't know if that's all that this is going to be, or what their take is going to be, but so far it seems like it's going in that direction. So it's a very cool book, and it has that synergy of art and writing where I feel like I blew through the first two issues so quickly, like almost to a fault, where it's like, need to reread them again before three. Well, I mean, also that's because we read so much at this point. I feel like, stuff just gets jumbled. But yeah, I mean, it's great. And all three of those books, like I said, anybody out there, if you're interested, you can, stumble into your local comic shop and they're going to have them, and they're all available digitally as well. So definitely worth your time.
Yeah, and it looks like it's going to go out at least 5 issues. Going by IDW's site, they have the covers for, at least the first 5 issues. So that's hopefully cool. It'll continue further.
So, yeah, well, okay. You got anything else you want to call it? We got another episode that'll be coming, shortly, hot on the heels of this one. We won't say who we will be having on it, but it's possibly somebody that we both very much want to talk to.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to recording that one. And then I know that in the future here, I'm planning on doing a deep dive into, going to try to lighten things up a little bit and do a deep dive into the realms of the Archie horror comics that have been coming out in the last couple of years.
Very cool. And which is the catalyst behind the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina on Netflix.
That is correct. Yeah.
And just really, without going into it now, I'll just say, like, we talked about this back on Drinking with Comics. I don't remember if that was before you were on Drinking with Comics or if it was while you were on Drinking with Comics. But I remember talking about it, and I just always thought that the people that run Archie are so fucking smart because they just know how to dodge and weave with the times, man. I mean, I feel like they saved their brand big time.
Yeah, no, they definitely did. It definitely did. So all right, well, let's call it then. So until next time, I am Shawn. And I'm Chris.
And this is A Most Horrible Library. And everybody out there, just thanks for listening. Keep reading. You can find us on social media. The Horror Vision, which we are under the umbrella of. We are both on that show as well. We have a Facebook discussion group. Look that up. Some great stuff being posted there. Great discussions. Instagram, Twitter, the whole shebang. So eventually we'll have a TikTok. I mean, we actually have a TikTok, but I just don't know what to do with it yet.
Yeah, and in the meantime, if anybody out there has any books that they would like us to take a look at, please let us know. We'd be more than happy to, and we're always looking for more things to read.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well said. So, okay. Until next time, everybody, stay safe, stay scared, and keep reading.